Well, The Dreaming Boy is a Realist is probably easily going to go down as one of the biggest disappointments of the summer 2023 anime season by far. I watched the PV, thought the main girl looked cute. I figured this would be a nice, fun little rom-com show. Based on the synopsis, it had an interesting concept. It's literally the guy that finally gives up on the tsundere. And then the tsundere is like, wait, you're supposed to keep trying. But yeah, there's two big problems this show has. One's not really that big, and that's just the visual quality. It was not, the PV made it out to be a very good looking show. And the show itself is not that good looking most of the time. It's usually the faraway shots. But the biggest issue this show has that I'm going to get into in great detail is there's just a narrative chunk missing out of every single episode. Like, it just feels like I'm skipping episodes is really what it feels like. But we'll get into that and so much more with my first impressions of the first 3 episodes of The Dreaming Boy is a Realist, a series that is airing in the summer 2023 anime season. So let's jump into it. The Dreaming Boy is a Realist opens up with a boy named Wataru. And Wataru is obsessed with this girl, Aika. And he's constantly pursuing her, and at some point, this soccer ball flies by, and she's like, are you okay? Look, things like this happen because you're stalking me everywhere. Just stop. Just give it up and leave me alone. And she walks away. And he's like, oh, yeah, I guess I should. And that's sort of the point in which the relationship between the two of them is shifting. He suddenly has given up on her and kind of moving on with his life, not wanting to be a bother to her. But at the same time, everybody around them is completely shocked by this. Like, what happened to you, dude? You're obsessed with Aika. You've always followed her around. Ever since middle school, you have constantly been after her, and suddenly you're just done? It doesn't make sense to people. And yes, even Aika herself is showing signs that she's like, wait, why aren't you coming over to talk to me? It dumbfounds her. Even though she literally just said, leave me alone, she doesn't know why he's leaving her alone. But that's a tsundere, so we're just gonna go with it. And what sort of kind of follows this is, yes, everybody trying to find out what's wrong with Wataru. Everybody wants to know, why aren't you going after her? What if somebody else goes after her? And he's like, that's fine. I've shifted. His mindset is that he's not good enough for her, and so he's just going to root for her and support her. And even seeing other people gathering around her now, he's like, oh, well, that makes perfect sense. I've always been keeping her from meeting other people. I've always been nagging her and surrounding her that nobody else came to talk to her. This is a good thing. But again, it still seems like everybody's bothered by this. Aika doesn't like it, but she doesn't want to say anything. Their other friend Kei is upset about it, but she won't directly say what's going on. Everybody but Wataru and Aika seem to know they like each other, but the two of them don't seem to get it. Which again, this is tsundere stuff. I'm used to it. So I'll, as usual, let it pass and have fun with it. Sort of a side thing to this story, it seems like Wataru keeps bumping into other people and seemingly addressing their problems. Early on, this girl named Aizawa, who is like the idol of a class nearby, suddenly starts hanging around Wataru. Not sure exactly why, but she's suddenly hanging around with him. It seems to indicate later on that her ex-boyfriend made a comment about liking Aika too, and so that might have led her to go start hanging out with Wataru because he was after Aika. Doesn't make much sense, but that's part of my argument I'll get into later. But later on, Wataru ends up kind of helping her out with her whole situation, also kind of divulging his situation with Aika. So everything kind of wraps up well with her. And additionally, he ends up running into the school's disciplinary committee because he ran into one of his upperclassmen who was a part of the committee, and then the lead of the committee confronted him and then started divulging how all of their kohais have insecurity issues. And I don't know why she was asking him about his opinion on it, but then wanted to kind of help one of her kohais get over her fear of men. So she keeps bringing him to the office to ask him how to resolve that issue. And then the third episode, we started getting into his big sister, who is the student council president. And she keeps kind of dragging him into the office to have him help out because he's really good with administrative stuff. And at some point, one of the members of the student council says that, hey, your sister's really upset because she thinks that she caused you to be insecure about something, so you should go talk to her. So he confronts her and she apologizes for being mean to him by saying that he's not great and causing him to no longer pursue what he should be pursuing, which is assumed Aika. And then she said that she's going to stop being mean to him, but then he's like, shut up, be mean to me. And then they kind of part ways. And then he realized that Aika was stalking him the whole time and he doesn't know why that is. So yeah, So my thoughts on this show. It's a narrative mess Honestly, I have no clue what they're doing with this show, and I'm sort of getting whispers here and there that apparently they are just blitzing through content here, and so this might just be an absolute adaptation mess. Maybe they're trying to get to a certain story beat really quickly so they can wrap up something in this core, so they're blitzing all this early stuff. The issue that comes from that is I don't have an idea of what's causing the conflicts here. Like early on, I don't even get a sense that Wataru is constantly after Aika, because it breaks it off so quickly. I'm now getting that sense because everybody won't shut up about the fact that they're curious why Wataru is not trying to go after Aika, which is kind of a reverse narrative that is kind of annoying and getting old. It's obvious he's moving on, so why does everybody feel the necessity to constantly be berating him to go after Aika again? You've all watched him be rejected over and over and over and over again. This is obviously unhealthy, and so he's finally moving on. That's a good thing. But putting that aside, because again, I want to laugh it off as it's a tsundere story. Eventually, he'll break the tsun. But it does seem like the show is trying to take itself seriously here. Yes, there's a goofy shenanigans here and there, but this is supposed to be a romance comedy, so you have to take some of it seriously. But even still, I'm not so much bothered by that. Yes, I get tired of them constantly asking Wataru what's wrong with him. And yes, Aika seems like a terrible human being outside of being a tsundere. But the real issues in this show so far is the side stories. It's almost like it's turning into a Wataru helps people with their issues in school. But the problem that comes from that is typically the setup seems to be missing from the show. Like, why is Rena even with Wataru? She just randomly shows up and starts hanging out with him. And everybody's like, what? Why are you hanging out with this chick? And then we find out what Rena's problem is, and Wataru shares his knowledge with her, and she figures things out and moves on. With the disciplinary committee, he nearly bumps into one of the kohais, and then later on, the leader of the committee ends up showing up out of nowhere and goes, "Oh, you must have been the one that ran into my kohai." Well, how did you know that? You don't even know what his name was. He gave a fake name later on. She doesn't even know what his name is, but yet she knows that he ran into her kohai? But then again, why suddenly pull him into your office and start divulging the insecurities of your kohais to a random stranger, an underclassman, and rely on him to figure out what to do with them? Like, again, it's sort of missing the build-up to why that's the case. And again, that extends to the sister. Yes, I got early on a sense that the sister keeps using him, keeps texting him saying, "Show up here, I need you to help us with this thing, you're good at administrative stuff," or having him carry a bunch of stuff to school. She's sort of having him help her out with stuff, even though she's not requesting, she's telling him to. But at the end of the third episode, what we're supposed to feel is that she is nasty to him. Like, absolutely nasty to him. And that apparently she's been ruining his self-esteem. Like, she's been downplaying who he is as a person. Because what she's saying is that, I'm causing you to think that you're not good enough. I'm sorry for doing that. Please continue to pursue what you want to pursue, being Aika. But I never got a sense of that before then. Yes, she's kind of a demanding sister, but I don't get a sense that she's destroyed him as a person. What I've sort of gathered from some brief messages here and there is that this is supposed to be a story about a character that has lost all self-confidence. I don't get a sense of that from Wataru. Yes, he's said here and there that he's not good enough for Aika. Yes, there's a comment here and there where somebody's saying that he's normal, but I've never got a sense that he's stuck in some sort of state of depression and that he has zero confidence in himself. I mean, he's casually talking to one of the prettiest girls of a nearby class. He's talking to upperclassmen with full confidence. This does not give me an indication this character's having a problem with self-confidence. He has all the confidence in the world that I'm seeing. He's much more social than I've seen any male character in an anime like this. This dude has cojones, but yet I'm supposed to believe that the sister has somehow broken him and that she wants him to pursue somebody. We all know that she's talking about herself when she says, "I know somebody that did this too, that gave up on something." She's talking about herself, but I've never seen once in the show where she broke him. So now I'm supposed to go along with this conversation as if it makes sense, and it sadly doesn't. And the reason why it bothers me so much is that how that conversation ends. How the conversation between Wataru and his sister ends was very malicious, but had a heart in there. Had a sibling heart in there. We are siblings. I expect this from you. Okay, she believes she destroyed your self-esteem, but I'm supposed to kind of smile to this, I think. So I'm gonna smile and go, siblings. I don't know. It's a struggle. It is an absolute struggle. And like I said at the very beginning, the other issue the show really has is that it doesn't visually look as good as I was kind of hoping. Yes, a lot of the close-up shots look fine. I think the characters look fine up close. There's some really good character designs here. but it's really kind of the faraway shots they use a lot. Wonky. Like the off modeling is left and right. It is kind of a struggle there. But it works. It's not terrible. And like I said, close up, the characters look fine. I think what it comes down to is if what I'm hearing is true, that so much content is being blitzed through and so much of it is being skipped. This is probably one of those shows where I tell most people, if you're into light novels, check out the light novels. It seems like if it's true that this story is about somebody who has lost all self-confidence and lost all self-purpose, I think there's probably a really good story here. I'm just not getting it with this adaptation. So I can kind of see this being as one of those ones where skip and check out the source material instead, because you're probably just going to ruin the story for yourself, just skipping past the what seems like very impactful stuff. But who knows? I might be way off. I'm not feeling the stories being told here so far, unfortunately. But if you're just looking for a goofy twist on the tsundere story, the guy that gave up on the tsundere, which I think is a really interesting concept, check it out. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Dreaming Boy is a Realist. Kay's cute. I like Kay too. I did like the sister part. I have to admit, I did get a massive chuckle out of the guy and his sister. He went off and met Aika's sister, and they took pictures of himself with her, and he's like, oh yeah, that's right, you are a really good brother, so it makes sense that you hit it off with her sister. So he takes the pictures from the guy's phone and sends it to his sister just to get her jealous. That was cute. And that's not even talking about, apparently there's a big controversy of the OP that apparently they plagiarized a whole bunch of other animes. Those side-by-side shots are pretty funny. I don't really get offended by that kind of stuff. I think if you take shot for shot an entire story, that's a different story, but I wasn't too bothered by it. But it's fun to look at. But anyhow, that's my thoughts on The Dreaming Boy is a Realist. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure that like button down below. Comment. Let me know what you thought of the series. Do you agree, disagree? I mean, am I missing stuff or what? Because truth be told, I actually went back and rewatched like the entire third episode probably 2.5 times. I re-went through first and second episode trying to see if I missed context somewhere. So it's not as if I just completely glossed over it. Like I literally checked over and over again to see if I was wrong before I said anything. Is that troublesome? But let me know in the comments down below. Am I right? Have you checked out the source material? Do you think that that's true or what? I don't know if there's like an official translation of it yet, so I don't know how many people have actually read it. But let me know. Additionally, if you like this content and you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate everybody that supports the channel. Y'all take care.